Good afternoon. Remember when I said our fearless leader, Katie, would be back? I lied. I'm Jeff. I'm guest hosting today, along with my two good friends, Sandra and Billy. Lots of good perspective today, because Sandra is a content editor, has a lot of good background in things, and Billy is a jack of trades on the graphic web video side. So lots of knowledge here today on the social media help desk. Here we are. One of the things I want to kick off before we get into kind of the help stuff. I just read an article that Daily Variety put out that The Rock gets paid $1 million just to do social media for his movies.
That makes sense.
Does it?
Yeah, he has a huge following, and all of his posts get high engagement.
Yeah, he does, right? He has 12 million Twitter followers and 100 million Instagram followers.
I mean, it would be such a great way to directly market to people that want to go see him in action.
Yeah, totally, right? And the fact that he can engage with people within that platform is always an advantage. And I don't know what a billboard costs, but imagine you put up a billboard for a movie like we used to see way back when. That's probably a pretty penny.
And I mean, I would say that someone like The Rock, who has that large of a following and is that well received, like the sentiment around him is so positive. He's kind of like Helen of Troy. The moment he tweets or puts out an Instagram post, it is immediately reposted on everyone else's social media. He is literally sending ships out the moment he posts.
Yeah, and I think, do you guys have celebrities you follow? Because I think we talk a lot about influencer marketing, and you can kind of tell when someone's pitching something versus when someone's real and they're representing something, and that might be the difference in The Rock's case. Do you have a favorite celebrity you follow on social media?
No.
None?
No, I don't. I only follow people I know.
Okay.
I tend to follow comedians.
Okay.
My favorite one is Matt Oswalt, who is the brother of Patton Oswalt. And it's not so much that he's an influencer, it's more the funny writing he does. It's pure Twitter.
And you like podcasters as well, right?
I do. I follow all my favorite podcasts on Twitter and Instagram, and they tend to build their following better because when they start interacting on a one-on-one level with their listeners, it only makes them more engaged and more willing to tune in each week, because now you feel on a personal level, not only do you hear their voice, they're approachable as well online.
And this is something that we didn't talk about this beforehand. You listen to podcasts as well, lots of them. But you said that they're bringing in their followers off social to the podcast. And you might traditionally think, well, once you build the podcast audience up, then you get them on social. But it can go either direction, right?
Yeah.
And I think, so what's a podcast do you follow any podcasts on social?
I mainly what I follow on social media is a lot of like technical groups.
Okay.
And people giving like a lot of like, a Node.js group, like photo editing groups, more like very like nuts and boltsy things, to where there is advertising inside of it, but it really has like a directed purpose. It's like, here's a new plugin, it allows you to have all these features, and then take it from there.
So it is applicable directly to what you're doing and what other people like you are doing.
Yeah. So like, I wouldn't say I don't follow people. I don't know, but it's just everyone I follow has a very specific reason.
Yeah, and I think I kind of fall in the middle of you guys. I don't know that I follow any kind of actor or podcast, but I do. I know the first instance I have a question about something, I go onto social media and look up that person's account or look at news for that person on social. And so it is a part of my interaction, the social part. They're not a part of my feed. So it is interesting, and it kind of helps us segue. The movie promotion is no different really than events. And so I know we've talked in the past couple of weeks about how social's being used. It was used at Coachella, or was used at Stagecoach even. Fashion, other brands jump onto that kind of phenomena. But you're going to talk with Sandra a little bit more about how social's used, like if you're a business, how you leverage it in your event, right?
Well, what you
or
want
around
to
events, sorry.
Yeah, of course. And so what you want to do before you go to any event is you want to research the heck out of it. You want to find out what are the relevant hashtags. You want to look at the calendar. Like Twitter has its own specific calendar in events, and you can look and see which events we'll be using which hashtags most likely. You also want to maybe see if the organizer of the event, maybe they're accessible. You can approach them before the event and maybe learn about any professional photography opportunities before you arrive and try to coordinate with them. Otherwise, you want to make sure that you always have a spare battery for your phone. The worst thing is if you're trying to take photos or live stream if your phone is dead. And a good note for anybody who wants to live stream is to always beforehand ensure that there is Wi-Fi and that you have access to that. And then also to write maybe a small script before you arrive so you know what to say, or an action list on hand so that you touch on each point of your action list. You know, photos of Matt before I leave, photos of this buffet, and then you collect all of your items from your action list to bring with you for later in the week, like say you want to make an album or any other content you want to curate.
And it almost sounds like, and you're familiar with this from the video side, it's almost like a shot list.
Yeah,
right?
I was just thinking, you're walking in, you already have a vision of what you want to get out of it, and it's just making that happen.
Exactly.
And from your point of view, let's kind of stick with this for a second because we're going to transition to video in a few minutes anyway. When you're covering video at an event, how much preparation goes into that time? And you can jump in as well on the social side. How much time does that process take? You know,
I researching the event space, getting there a little bit ahead of time. I'd say 2 to 3 hours kind of prep work, making sure you know who you need to talk to. And even kind of people like on the second tier down from the people that you want to talk to, like Natalie probably has a ton of information that you're not necessarily going to get from Katie. You know, and it should probably be a good person to interview. You know, like assistants and that kind of thing. At least people could point you in the right direction.
Exactly, but I would say from a content editor standpoint, that would be probably a week out from the event to ensure that you have enough time to properly research and properly contact everyone and give them proper response time. Give them time to get back to you.
Yeah. And I know you actually covered an event this weekend.
I did.
One of our clients had sponsored here in Orange County, and you had worked with, the organizer had their own photographer there.
Yes.
So it meant for you to get other kinds of footage and working in conjunction with them, as well as people to get that you're going to shoot, you know, photos of or video of. But also, you know, hashtags are a big part of it before an event happens.
They are.
Right? You can build up the conversation before the event happens. And this is a big thing we tell the clients we work with a sales team. If you're a dentist and you're going to a dental conference in 2 weeks, figure out if that event has a hashtag, right? Figure out who's going to be there, who the speakers might, you know, maybe there's a guest speaker or something like that. There's a lot of networking to be done before the networking. And so It's a great way to make sure that not only do you cover the event well with, you know, on-site location scouting and prepping, the beforehand stuff, but also touching base with people like, hey, you're going to be at the show, we're going to be at the show too. Or our company is interested in interacting with your company. And so there's a lot of ways we can leverage hashtags.
Yes. And you never know, sometimes you will find influencers within that hashtag who might be looking to connect.
And so it's just one of those things where not enough thought can go into it before or during, and even after. You always go, oh, I wish I could have gotten this, I wish I would have done that. Live streaming is another part, right? You have to know if you can get a signal there, right? Live streaming is such a big deal now.
It is.
Just like video, lighting, you know, sometimes you can set up a station, you set up your lights, but if you're going to get, you know, off the stick stuff and you're doing a handheld or whatever, if the lighting's terrible, you're toast, right? Like, because you need to be able to have good lighting. And we go to we cover a lot of events sometimes where atmosphere is preferred and the rooms are dark, and those are tough for video quality. Let's kind of move into our next topic, or continue on to video, but something you can shed some light on with your experience. Video is becoming the king of content. We know we post content all the time. If you're going to post something on your Facebook page, even on Instagram, you're going to get more engagement on video, partially because the platforms prefer that style.
The algorithms are starting to look a lot more for video content, and you're going to see them posted to more people.
And so where do you think, I always hear these stats of like 82% of all online consumption is video, and online streaming or whatever. And I don't know if that's traditional social, if that includes Netflix or, Hulu and things of those natures, people, cord cutters. But certainly if you're starting out on video, you're a company, you're a brand, you're a solopreneur, you have a product, where do you start on the video side?
Where would you start on the video side? I would say, you really have to kind of step back and understand your product from someone that has never seen it before, doesn't know anything about it, and you've got to try and sell them on it within the first 10 seconds. Because if they're scrolling through and they see your product come through on their feed, if you don't understand what that product is in the first couple of seconds, you're just going to keep scrolling. Mm-hmm. So I would say you really have an elevator kind of pitch for the beginning of your video, and then kind of expand out from there. And
I'll ask both you guys this question: video length. Instagram, the max is 60 seconds. Facebook can go on quite a while. Mm-hmm. Do you guys, from a professional viewpoint, have a preferred length of video? And do you, from a kind of personal video watching standpoint, what's your threshold? My threshold on video is I turn off autoplay as fast as possible, and I don't watch a lot of video. But I know I'm in the minority in this. Excuse me. Your thoughts?
I know that as a content editor, the videos that do get viewed on my channels tend to not be watched more than 10 seconds.
Really?
And I do believe that it is that scrolling factor. And you want to be making content that we call thumb stoppers, because you're going to be scrolling with your thumb. You want someone to stop scrolling and watch. But as a social media user myself, I tend to want my videos to be 1 to 2 minutes long max. Anything longer than that, and I feel like it's work.
Yeah, especially it depends on where I'm watching it. If I'm on my phone, 30 seconds, a minute, kind of tops. On my laptop, I'll watch it for quite a bit longer.
Oh yeah.
I think it just depends on the space that I'm in. Because if I'm at home, I've got the time. If I'm around on my phone, we obviously don't have the same amount of time.
And it does depend on the type of content. If you are looking at an ad, that ad should be short. It should be concise and sweet. But if you're watching an educational video or tutorial, that could stand to be as long as 10 minutes to 30 minutes long, because you're looking for more information.
Because each couple minutes are going to cover a different section of the information that you need, and you can break it down from there.
I agree.
We have seen a strong performance in ad programs that we have. When we start with a video, and like you said, then we're able on Facebook to go back in and retarget the people that watched a certain amount.
Yes.
And excuse me, have you encountered that with any of your clients?
Yes, I tend to see that when I retarget anyone who watches a video for over 10 seconds, if I retarget them, they're more likely to be a warmer lead, because they are interested in the product or the client, and they are more likely to engage with the ad content.
And I think on the financial side of it is you're not wasting additional ad spend on someone who wasn't interested in the video in the first place.
Exactly.
And like you said, 10 seconds is it. 10 seconds is it. What can you say in 10 seconds? And so the days of that, we even see that in TV now, right?
Yeah.
The 30-second commercial it still exists, but there are a lot of other 15s and 4s. And
so when I was at a previous job, my entire job was making 6-second videos for unskippable YouTube advertisements.
What did you see off of that?
Off of that, I asked to see the results from it, and I was too far down the chain to get that kind of information. But it really showed me the amount of content that you can squeeze into a couple seconds. And, it was pretty much 1 sentence per 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. Because you need people able to read it, they need to understand it, then they need to be able to move on to the next thing. So I could get about, 3, here's our product, buy this product here. Mm-hmm. That kind of information, very simple, very concise, but fast.
And would you say that with ads that are like that for pre-roll, ads that premiere before the video, do you think that those perform more than mid-roll, mid throughout the video?
I would say, you might be trying to get to your content that you're waiting for, but like you probably have to, just from it being so short and not like annoying. Like 6 seconds is kind of like any longer than that, and you're like, I don't want to watch it, but you know, you're gonna remember it. You know, so it sticks with you when you're browsing. You're like, oh, what was that again? And you're gonna look it up.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We'll change gears a little bit because video kind of plays into the next format, and here's what we're doing: live streaming, right? I saw an article today. We were looking at an article in TechCrunch that came out recently. That Facebook Live's playing with some new things for Facebook. Is playing with some new things for Facebook Live, and part of the reason is it said the live streams from verified pages is up 1.5 times from where it was, I think, a year ago.
Oh, wow.
And so more pages are committing to this type of content. It's more interactive, even though I know we can field comments to the live viewers, but certainly it's not something pre-produced. I think people like the authenticity. Do you guys think that this Facebook thing is just going to keep on, the live streaming thing will just keep on moving and we're headed to maybe total live streaming?
I've actually watched quite a few like live streams of like musicians in their studio, just kind of like jamming a lot. You know, I think it's really kind of an interesting way. It's super intimate. You know, you see like people like who a lot of times you see like a very polished content from making little mistakes, humanizing, and therefore because they're more human, I feel more connected.
Yes.
Plus, it's all access, right? You feel like you're getting that behind the backstage kind of feeling in your case. But
just me and
I think
homie
in general,
kicking it,
yeah.
I agree, and it's also a great way for brands to become more approachable. It's a great way for their viewers and users to feel that they know them and become more likely to interact with their content because of that.
One of the things that I saw that Facebook is considering is rewinding of a live stream.
Oh, I did not know that.
How do you think that'll change things?
I think it might become a little less authentic because of that, but maybe it'll also free up brands to be willing to make more mistakes take more risks, because it will feel less like we need to get all of this jammed in and more like a traditional video.
As a consumer, I kind of like it if you miss something.
Yes, exactly. Come in late.
What was that? I really need that content. Bring it back.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to promote an item that does specifically have a selling point.
Yeah.
Well, and tutorials, right? Anyone that's doing anything on the fly live, you're going to have to wait for it, and then you can hopefully, if they post it, you can rewatch it. But the fact you can pause it, rewind it, you can go step by step at your speed versus the speed that it's being broadcasted.
Exactly.
And then one of the other highlights of that I saw is that you'll be able to cross-post it. And why this, I think, is important is if you're a huge company and you have, you have a company announcement that you want to put out there, and you have multiple properties within different countries, right? So you're a big brand, but you're in all these countries. You can now cross-post and do live stream across several Facebook pages at one time.
That makes sense, especially for brands like Coca-Cola, who have Coca-Cola USA, Coca-Cola Espanol.
There you go, yeah. So I think that's an interesting thing. Okay, let's move on to...
Did they also fix some technical issues? If it like...
Yes, the streaming, yes.
Yeah. So it enables you to...
pick up where you left off, right?
Yeah, and you don't have to send out the key, the API key to that connects it all. I'm not 100%
yes.
on the terminology.
So when there's a live stream, and you encountered this weekend, you got in an area where the signal was not very good. I actually had this a week ago too. I was outside a location. When I went in, the stream cut off because the Wi-Fi was bad, or the over-the-air cellular was bad. Now what will happen, and every time you do that, it cuts the feed and makes you come back and start a new feed. And the way I understood it was, it will, almost like a buffering thing, will kind of keep the feed going while you lost the signal capabilities until you reconnect.
Yeah.
And it keeps the feed all one long strand.
We've even run into that with social media help desk.
That's true. We have. A couple weeks ago we did. You're right. Our photographer Andrew is shaking his head. It wasn't his fault. It's always the service. Next thing I want to talk to you. A couple more things. Twitter sent out an email. Actually, had notifications all on the page. Sent out emails about. It's actually somewhat confusing to me, with the exception that what I understood out of it is your password was exposed. Change it. And so we saw that. We talked about it here. If you're a client of ours, know that we'll be changing your password. We'll be communicating with you. It doesn't appear that the passwords were accessed, but it's kind of more of a general password thing. In this case, it doesn't seem like too much harm happened out of it, but it was a good reminder. But in terms of changing your passwords, there's a couple like normal things. One, like there should be some regular password changing, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's suggested every like quarterly. I've heard of people doing it monthly, but I assume it probably depends on how much you want to protect what you've got, and how valuable you have, how are your assets.
I agree. And then there's also measures you can take, such as random password generators. You don't want to use anything too personal, and there are other services you can use to keep track of all of these new passwords if you change them quarterly, such as Basecamp or LastPass. And
of course, I think that the one thing is even Twitter reminded users that if you use the same password that you have on Twitter across all your channels, you're gonna have to go change all those too, because once your password's somewhat been exposed, you don't really want it on anything. And I think that's kind of another like password best practices thing is change up your passwords. Like it's always easy to remember our dog's name and the year we were born as a password, but how safe is that?
Yeah.
And ultimately, especially if you're a brand, someone accesses your stuff and can either steal information or make you look bad. I mean, how many times have we seen a celebrity tweet something or whatever and say, "Oh, someone hacked my account"? Did that really happen? I don't know. But if you have an easy password or you have a password that was stored in other areas, then you're in trouble. And so I think diversifying your password is a big thing too.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, if someone finds out that your Twitter password is the same as your Facebook password, that's a double whammy.
All right, so we're all for quarterly changes and keeping it different, right?
Yes.
All right. The last thing seemed to have little fanfare, and I'm not quite sure why. LinkedIn last week, May 3rd, celebrated its 15th birthday.
Did it really? I guess little fanfare is the right phrase to use because I hadn't heard.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's social media is such. I don't know what year the TV was made. I'm not sure what I don't know that I'd keep up with all kinds of milestones of that way. But it's surprising that for some of us, like social media has been around for half or almost half of our lives now, and it's still evolving. And every day it evolves. And LinkedIn is one of those ones that the people who seem to have success on it love it because it serves the purpose, like it works for them. Whereas other people can't get going on it. And I don't know, how do you see LinkedIn?
My wife uses LinkedIn all day, every day, making a lot of like professional connections. She does sales, and it connects her with the right people she wants to talk to without having to go through a whole lot of BS. She can get right to the people in charge of. She does sales for a online delivery company, so she wants to talk to both the marketing people and the people who are handling operations and trying to get her product in. And it gives her a direct line to it.
Yeah, it really helps you connect with the decision makers.
Yeah.
That's very true.
And what about your experience?
I think that LinkedIn, depending on the brand, can be a very useful tool. However, I do think that if you are looking to reach your audience, Facebook is the place to be.
It is, and especially when you consider there's some ad variations as well. Facebook's ad targeting is more robust, but LinkedIn has great ads. I mean, we have clients that you'd think would work better on one and not the other, and they kind of prove you wrong. And so we always say, research your channels, see if they work, because you never know until you know. A lot of people have the misconception that, I can't really target business people on Facebook. There's no way I'd rather be able to reach the decision makers like your wife, in your wife's case, that you're going to get on LinkedIn. You are going to zero in on those those decision makers, because their LinkedIn's advertising is very robust. You can go by industry, size. There's all kinds of things to really find the right audience, but it's a little more costly than a Facebook ad as well.
That's true.
So it is interesting. A lot of people use it as a job platform, and that's kind of how they know it. And we have several clients where we're in there like your wife every day networking.
Oh yeah.
And meeting connections and trying to get in to the next space with these clients.
It could be a great conversation starter. It could be a great tool for, as you said, reaching out to those decision makers, but also perhaps brokering a partnership between two brands.
Yeah, I think it works really well for brand to brand, for like brand to general public. I think Facebook's probably a better way to go.
I agree.
Yeah, and I just think, you know, when you dial back the clock, I guess before LinkedIn started and even before people jumped on board, to make some of these, in your wife's case, these sales, maybe in a local region, you went door to door, you went business to business. If you worked on a national level, you attended a convention of some sort, which those things still happen, but now it's kind of at your fingertips. And if you're a business and you've identified the companies that you'd like to work with, and I think collaboration is bigger than ever in the history of business. Collaboration just seems to be happening more. You know, LinkedIn, you can identify the specific people, and it just starts with a simple note, right? I mean, you know, a hello, here's who I am. I think there's a potential for us. You don't come in with the sale, though, on your first message.
No, it's about establishing that relationship, the connection, which LinkedIn is all about. And just like when you approach a lead, you want to make sure they start out cold and they go to warm.
And I think the other thing that's a great tool about that is, and your wife probably has experience, that we have experience with it in some of the clients that we have, you may have that desired target. Hey, I really want to talk to the CEO of this company, but I don't know that person.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is very big about don't go contacting people you don't know, you know, but then you have the connections, right? And so if you can find that mutual connection, now this allows you to reach out to that CEO or CFO or CMO or whoever you're trying to target, another sales guy, and say, hey, we both know John Smith. We've done work with John Smith in this category here. John recommended I reach out to you. Or you do the other thing, which is you ask John Smith to help you out.
To introduce you, yeah.
Right?
I think one thing that my wife has seen with it is, you know, the more connections that she gets in a lot of like the larger companies, the easier it is to get into the other big ones. Like, oh, you know, Bob at Taco Bell. Cool. I mean, Joe at Wendy's is looking for you. You know,
it lends her some authenticity.
Yeah,
it does. Excuse me. It gives you that proof that, hey, okay, this person claims to be working with all these brands, but when you can go through and see their connections, you see, okay, this person actually does have connections with these brands, or even one step further, recommendations on LinkedIn from people within those brands.
Exactly, and I think that's one of Katie's best practices that she uses when she trains the content editors in LinkedIn, is to not just have these great connections, but to have the connections endorse you on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, I think that pretty much does it for us here. We're getting the rap cue. No, just kidding. This is the KWSM Social Media Help Desk, and if you have any questions for Katie Wagner Social Media, we encourage you to use your social channels to connect with us. Ask your questions. We can answer them here. That's what this is here for. This is a service for you to help you grow your brand and have better business by using digital marketing, whether that's social media, websites, e-communications. There's a program for everybody. Hopefully you've dialed in and found what yours is to connect with your audiences. I'd like to thank Sandra and Billy for joining me. Again, I'm Jeff. I'm filling in for Katie. I'm going to promise that she's back next week and you get to see her pretty face instead of mine. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.